I'm super honored to have my friend Min Kim here with me today. And Min and I both did our undergrad at UC Berkeley's House School of Business, but he's actually 4 years older than I am. So we actually never really crossed paths while we were in school. But after graduating, he spent his first year working as a research analyst at FMV Opinions, which is a financial advisory firm that also had a really strong valuation practice. And then from there, he moved over to Deutsche Bank in the technology investment banking group, where he spent 4 years and ended up as an associate there. It was there that Min and I met during my first year in investment banking, which also happened to, I think that was also your last year there as well, in 2009. And then, well, I don't know, was that? I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we left around the same time. And then I went to Morgan Stanley, but for Min, after Deutsche, I think he founded, is it Ivila or Evila Global? I might be mispronouncing it. But it's
yeah. So I did a bunch of startups after, but we could get into
so
that
I think that was my understanding is that was an e-commerce company that sold like just personal products from South Korea in the US. But again, you can correct me if any of this is wrong later.
Right.
And then so that was his first foray into entrepreneurship, and then he worked on that for a few years. Then he joined another startup called Tapas Media as the COO, and there he helped establish a platform called Tapastic, which basically supported the publishing and sharing and reading of I think it's indie comics, basically, right? And then that became one of the premier content acquisition and community development platforms on the internet. And that was, I think, a few years ago, sold to Kakao Entertainment, which is a Korean company as well, right? For $510 million.
Right.
And then after that, Min, after Tapas, Min became chief strategy officer of Daily Financial Group, which is, I believe, one of the largest fintech companies in Korea. And basically, my understanding is that was like an umbrella corporation with a bunch of different fintech companies underneath. And in your role, you basically helped acquire and invest in and incubating numerous different fintech companies. And so that was kind of the last thing you did prior to your current thing, which, to cap everything off, I would say this is like your crowning achievement today, which is founding Icon, the Icon Foundation back in 2017. And Icon, and look, this is like way too technical for me, and I'm sure you'll explain it better. But Icon, basically, my understanding is your goal is to become one of the largest kind of L1 ecosystems in the world by enabling real world implementation of just kind of like cross-chain technology, or like allowing all the different blockchains to be able to work together, right? That was like my very poor, non-technical person explanation of what you guys do. So sorry if I'm butchering that.
I think for simplicity, let's just say a crypto project or a blockchain project, as we know.
And obviously, you guys also have your own token as well, right? Which is I think called ICX, or is ICX, which is currently trading at over, I think, $100 million in market cap. So anyway, okay, Min.
Thank you. Long intro, but glad to be here.
And it's long because you've done so much, right? And so first of all, I know you're a super busy guy.
I'm old now. I'm old. It's been a long time since we worked together. So I have a lot in my resume.
Well,
sure.
I would say a lot of people who are our age or your age haven't done nearly as much as you have. So, and I know you're also super busy. Obviously, running your business, and then also just like me, you're also a dad, and so I know kind of how that is. And so I really appreciate you for just taking a little bit of time to be here with us today. But now that we have the intro out of the way, and so because I wanted people to have context for what you've done, right? And I think part of the reason why I chose Min as the first guest on this podcast is because I think he has like a unique view into a lot of different potential different career paths. So for those of you who don't really know what you want to do in the long term yet, and some of you maybe are even thinking about going into banking because you just want to keep your options open, and that's one of the best ways to do that. I think this will be hopefully a really insightful interview for you guys. So, anyway, I would love to dive into some questions about your career, which I find just to be fascinating. Um, Took me like 3 minutes just to summarize it, right? So, but I guess my first question to you would be: did you always know that you would become an entrepreneur one day? Like, was that always the goal? And did you kind of like map out your ideal career path ahead of time, or was it has your career today kind of just been totally unexpected in terms of like where you've ended up? I obviously like back then we didn't know crypto was going to be a thing, so I'm not really talking about like that, but like did
Right.
you always know that like one day you were going to be doing your own thing, I guess?
No, I mean, I did not. And the funny thing is, my sort of dream career growing up was to be a banker. And I wanted to be working in Wall Street. I wanted to work on IPOs, M&As. Um, and that's why I went to one of the top business schools in UC Berkeley. So I trained myself. I've honed my skills, my interview skills. Like, I wish we had courses like you're providing back then, but we just had Cliff Notes and luckily, I had some good friends and good people in our university who were good
Yeah.
mentors. So I had a good opportunity to join Deutsche Bank to kind of hit
Yeah.
that goal. But long story short, yeah, banking was very exciting. Everything that you've probably heard, your viewers have heard is true. You work crazy amount of hours. You work a lot of deals, do a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of PowerPoint, a lot of everything. And yeah, I mean, you know, I think the glamour of it wasn't there, but at the same time, I've
Yeah.
learned a lot, but you get the front row seat to some of the coolest deals
Yeah.
in the world, right? That are newsworthy on the front page of Wall Street Journal. You get to sit right next to some of the top CEOs in the
Yeah.
world, and that was one of the most fulfilling times of my life. And after doing that for about 3, 4 years, um, I kind of, like I said, being in Wall Street was my dream job, and I definitely, wanted to kind of climb that ladder of hitting the, not only the
Yeah.
associate but VP, director, managing director, and so forth. Uh, that was sort of my plan going in. What really changed that trajectory was meeting this one company, one CEO who was actually the same age as me. So I was, um, young, 20 something year old. And I walk into a meeting and there was this other CEO who was also same age. And um, I remember his name. I remember his company. I don't know if I should say it, but but yeah, I mean, this person, he inspired me because the way he talked, the way he was building something, right? Building something that he was very
Yeah.
passionate about, building something where he had all these employees that were working with him to, create jobs, to create revenues. And that was very, very
Mm.
inspiring for me. So at that point, I thought, hey, maybe I just need to explore something new, something else. Uh, the typical, Wall Street path, as you know, is either you
Yeah.
stay in the banking and then you climb the ladder, or you go to
Yeah.
private equity routes, or if you're fortunate enough to be in like the in the Silicon Valley, like you and I did, some of us get to join like a VC or a early
Yeah.
stage startup or even a mid stage startup, go IPO. So there are some like other
Yeah.
options out there, right? But for me, I thought, hey, I'm still young. Why not just leave and try something completely different? So after 4 years, I took a few months off. I, was just just thinking about like, all right, I just wanted to start something new, start my own company. So I've done a couple of startups where one of them was a, today you call it, e-commerce or drop shipping company, right? This is before we had
Right.
Amazon fulfillment. Um, so before Amazon fulfillment came, we all sort of manually imported everything. We had a
Yeah.
warehouse. We stored products in there and we shipped it out by
That's
hand.
crazy.
So, we were sort of like doing all the drop shipping of Korean skincare,
Yeah.
personal care products. And we were doing okay. We were hitting about over $1 million in sales. Our gross margins were about 60%. So it wasn't too bad, but after running that business for about 2 to 3 years, I realized, oh man, this is like one of the part I really didn't like about this import export business was, sourcing all these products and just dealing with each vendor was very, very tiring, especially when you're from, banking background and, when you're working with some of the smartest people in the world and you go to start sourcing products and you have a lot of difficulty sort of like it was a
Yeah.
huge adjustment. I mean, I was young. If I look back, if I think back, I did not have that hustle in me. So maybe I gave up a little bit too
Mm,
quickly, but another sense, I wanted to do something that was a little bit more
mm,
higher tech,
mm.
right? High tech. So I went out there and I started learning more about user generated content. I was doing a little bit of consulting work for some friends, and doing a lot of networking. And I came across, a couple of a friend who started Tapas Media, and I joined super early. And they were building a digital stories platform, a mobile first digital
Mm.
stories platform, and it was supposed to be like a YouTube for comics. And I thought this was like very exciting. Instead of me building my own team, I got to join as a COO. I did not have to, I could kind of be there and learn and
Yeah.
observe at the same time, take the leadership role, right? So that was very,
Yeah.
very exciting. So, you know, long story short, those were sort of the steps, initial steps I took, but it was, to go back to your question, I did not have any
Yeah.
idea what I wanted to do. It was just, um, I was just inspired by, meeting somebody. And I think that's one of the great things about banking is you just meet so many different people with so many
Yeah.
different backgrounds. Yeah, it might sometimes confuse you because, you're like, oh man, there's so many different paths that I could take. So you need to make a
Yeah.
decision. And sometimes you regret that decision too. But, I think if you kind of stick to your gut, I think like I did, I
Yeah.
think it all
I mean, so
works
many
out.
things I want to unpack there, but I think first thing is, it sounds like, uh, I think a lot of us when we're younger, we think that, we have this plan and then everything's going to go according to this plan, right? And once you actually get
Right.
older and you start doing it, you're like, oh, you just throw the plan out the window. And at least for me, I've always kind of planned my career just like one step at a time. Like, okay, I first wanted to get into banking. And then once I got into banking, I started thinking about like, what is the best next step from here? But it's like one step out. I'm not thinking like 5 steps ahead. And then the best next step for me at the time was just like everybody else. Like, I want to go to private equity, right? And then I went to private
Yeah,
equity. And then I decided I don't want to stay in private equity. It's like, now what's the best next step from there? And I decided to go into tech. And it's just like, I didn't know I was going to end up running
right.
Wall Street Mastermind one day, and then now, at least to date, this is like the most rewarding thing that I've been able to do. But like, if you ask me when I was in
It's
college or when I
amazing.
was in high school, what are you going to be one day? I wouldn't have been able to tell you like, oh, I'm going to help other kids get jobs in investment banking. Like, this doesn't happen that way, right?
It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing where your life path, takes you, right? So, yeah, I don't think there's still a lot of people that from Deutsche Bank, from DB, who are still bankers, right? They're at the
Yeah.
managing director level. They're making big money. They have a very stable life. I still keep in touch with a lot of those people, and
Yeah.
they're doing great. But there are a lot of people who moved on to other jobs, and they're also
Yeah.
doing great. So I think it's at the end of the day, it's about finding what you are comfortable with and
For
finding your own
sure.
happiness, right?
I think you make a really good point, which is like they always say, like you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with. Not that like this CEO in particular that you ran into was someone that you spent a ton of time with per se, but the fact that you get to constantly rub shoulders with that caliber of people, I do think it changes uh, kind of your worldview, and also just in terms of um, giving you new ideas or inspiration or belief in terms of what is possible. Because maybe prior to that, you didn't think that
Right.
was possible to be at that level as a 22-year-old until you saw someone like him. It's kind of like when no one could run a 4 minute mile for the longest time. And then the first person that broke the 4 minutes and everyone started running 4 minute miles is kind of like that. Right. And so that's why I think it's like, it's so,
Yeah.
you can't really put a price on that, but like it's so valuable to be able to just put yourself in that type of environment where you can be surrounded by those types of people, right? And it could be like,
Right. You learn so much by
yeah,
observing, and it's so cool where you're drafting a lot of these memos. So you're writing about these companies, and you're meeting these companies, and you're analyzing these companies, and so everything is happening in real time, right? It's not just you know when you're writing something, it just sometimes just feels like fiction. It feels like so
yeah,
far away, right? But when you're actually in the room with the people who built the company, it is just
yeah,
so
for sure.
inspiring.